When we now match our new consciousness, new way of thinking, we now understand it's not when and where, but happiness is here and now. The new paradigm here is, in terms of relationship, I will not assign my happiness, my peace of mind to the behavior of the people who I am, except I own up. I'm angry because there's anger inside, not because you yelled at me. How you look at success as a process. Don't just look at the end goal, but I want you to look at the thing that will allow you to achieve that in a more permanent basis. That I now start to understand that when I am internally conditioned, the external result will just follow.
Meron ako mga nababasa lately, and I know that you're noticing this as well, that we're seeing a shift. Like, we are in the middle of a big shift pagdating sa traditional mastery na nakasanayan natin, and now we're seeing a new kind of breed of mastery na nakikita ng mga tao. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think it's really understanding that at the end of the day, if we want to create something in our life, being able to just really see how we can master happiness, how we can master being at peace with ourselves, being prosperous, okay? Not really necessarily multi-millionaire, but prosperous, and above all, being free or liberated. It has to have something new way of paradigm, new way of consciousness, new way of thinking, because if we don't have a new way of thinking, a new consciousness, whatever patterns we have in life, it will always be the same. If I've been broke for the past 10 years, in the next 50 years, I'll always be. If I've always been unhealthy and basically lonely, and a lot of times I question life with a lot of fear in my life, simply because, again, the old paradigms, the old way of thinking, which has now transcended into a new way of thinking, that if we think the same way with the new world, with the new earth, it's not gonna work anymore. So there's a movement around putting people to a certain level of new consciousness, new way of thinking, so that when we now match our new consciousness, new way of thinking, perhaps happiness, we now understand, is not when and where, but happiness is here and now.
Oh, wow.
Being healthy has nothing to do with what you eat or exercise program. Yes, it's important, but it's all about taking a look at how we think about health, how we feel about health, and that's where we now start to take a look at on what can be a new mastery for us to support us living the life that we've always wanted, because we've mastered the old way, which is normally fear, a lot of doubt, a lot of worry. And hence, if you take a look at the problem of the entire world, biggest problem number one is really depression. I mean, I could always say that we can always be at the best place on earth simply because everything is available, but how come when it's all available, people are more depressed? Number two, health issues is happening. A lot of information available out there, but how come there's still a lot of health issues? And it's never ending questioning, how can I be healthier? How can I be more fit? But above all, financial uncertainty. I think 80, 90% or 95% of humanity is always asking, questioning about how can I have more money? When in fact, there's always new way of thinking, not unless we bring this to the world, this new type of consciousness, because there's a new type of earth that's going on, then we will always be the same. We've mastered the old way, which is always fear, doubt, and worry, or unhappy, unhealthy, broke, depressed, versus a new way of living, happiness, freedom, but above all, bliss and joy, which is always available, no if and no buts.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Thank you, Coach Russ. You've been talking about a lot about the old patterns, the old ways, and these are based on fear, worry, and doubt. Like my question, Coach, kasi for sure there are people around here who's listening to this and seeing na, well, it's still working. Like to some extent, it still is.
But
somehow,
it has already reached that boundary.
Can you share some practical examples that we can see that it's not working anymore?
I mean, in terms of health, diba? Parang in the old way of thinking, when you are sick, normally what you do is you go to the pharmacy, take something. But right now, in the new way of thinking, it's not the only way, but there's something more. So if right now, no, I don't remember getting sick anymore, but if there are some symptoms, if there are some signs that my body needs something, instead of going to pharmacy and take something, I would ask myself, what is it about me? What's going on for me that if I want to start handling that, which is there's something beyond the physical ailment, but maybe something that I need to face, I need to start embracing, releasing, letting go, then whatever physical sickness will just be flushed out.
Wow.
Okay, in terms of relationship, right? The old paradigm is I am angry because this is what you did to me.
Yeah.
The new paradigm here is the reason why I'm angry because there's a lot of things going on in me that maybe that is showing up in your behavior. So therefore, right now, the new paradigm here is in terms of relationship, I will not assign my happiness, my peace of mind to the behavior of the people who I am in relationship with, except I own up. I'm angry because there's anger inside, not because you yelled at me. So it's a hard pill to swallow simply because the new paradigm is take ownership with your life 100%. You can no longer blame anything that's outside you, but what's inside you of you is a direct reflection of what's going on in your life. The old paradigm is all about blame. In terms of money, the old paradigm is the only way you can be successful is measured in based on amount of money that you earn.
Yeah.
And at the same time, not only amount of money that you earn, it's also taking a look at on recognition. The new paradigm, nothing wrong with money, but it's all about purpose. It's all about how can I serve the world? How can I create a better world? Wherein the measure is no longer about money, but the measure is how many people can I help? Which means before the old paradigm, if I'm a businessman, it's all about profits for me. I'll do anything and everything to squeeze every inch of profit so I can be more profitable. Versus right now, the new businessman, no, is all about prosperity for all. Which is yes, I want profit and I want everyone profitable. So that's the shift that is right now happening. But bottom line, the old way of consciousness is the mastery of ego. It's ego. It's all for me, me, me. The new consciousness is now about purpose, serving, which is about you, and you.
Okay. I love that. Those are practical steps. Pero ba dito nakarelate na? Parang ako yun Parang nakarelate ako doon Tama kayo rin, guys. But that's the old ways, you know. It's not gonna work forever. And we're as we're talking about Coach din, yun nga, marami nang nagbabago ngayon. But like my question is for the younger generations, they're more open to, and you've been seeing this, like we've been working with a lot of Gen Zs, they're more open in understanding that like the past stuff won't work anymore, and you know we gotta find some new stuff that can work for us. But for the older generations as well, it's kind of harder for them to rewire.
Not just hard, but I guess a lot of people are even willing to die to hold on to a paradigm, a consciousness, a conditioning, a mindset that has worked for them. I'm 53 right now, and for the past 53 years, this has worked for me. And somehow I see it's no longer working, but I still want to hold on to it because again, the ego is telling us I'm right about this, and no matter what's going on, I'll be right. I will always be right about this. And it's no longer working specifically in terms of business. Most of my meetings right now with top management is they're having difficulty in keeping Gen Zs, which is opposite to my own experience.
Yeah,
right?
I can see that.
I love this generation simply because, again, sorry but among the 5 generations, they're the best generation to work with. And a lot of people in the old paradigm disagree with me. In fact, they have so much bashing on this new generation. But here's the thing. 95% of the workforce in the next 3 years will be coming from this generation. 95% of people who do we want to do business with will be coming from this generation. So if we don't know how to handle them, how to embrace them, how to work with them, you're out of the game.
Yeah, and I love working with Gen Zs. I'm borderline millennial, but I can feel na totally aligned din ako sa values ng Gen Zs. But curious ako, Coach, because probably there might be people na, kasi syempre kahit di sila Gen Zs, they still want to master themselves, they still want to get better, they still want to know how to work with these people.
Yeah.
How can they reframe that or be more open about that?
I think the beauty around what we're talking about here is no longer about generation. Because what the Gen Z needs is actually what the humanity need. Except that we were all wired up, okay, in like machine. We were all wired up with goals. We were all wired up with you should have this, you should have that, which means the Gen Z would refer that to the matrix.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And kids like 13, 14 years old, they're question to me, how can I get out of the matrix? Which is they know this type of thinking will no longer work. And now we want something else, but we need a place for us to feel safe that we are doing good, we're on the right track. And basically, my challenge here for people in my generation or the older generation is to start, number one, being open around the awareness that whatever we're doing has reached its maximum limit. I'm not saying it's no longer working, but maximum limit. But if we want to move to the next level, we want to open ourselves to a new way of thinking, wherein the new way of thinking right now is to take a look at on not just a result-driven base, but it's a process-driven base.
A process-driven base. What does that mean?
Which means you have to understand that when you are taking a look at on how you look at success as a process, don't just look at the end goal. But I want you to look at the thing that will allow you to achieve that in a more permanent basis. What does it mean? Okay, most of the time, specifically if it's a sales organization, if it's like network marketing or anything that's something to do with sales, what we always push is actually result. Nothing wrong, except if we take a look at on this, our biggest problem right now in workforce is actually number one, retention. People just keep on moving and moving. Why? Because we treat people like machine, because it's all about results based. I have nothing against result. I love results. I have a lot of result, except that I understand that there's always a process. And the process here is really understanding that if we want to have freedom in all aspects in our lives, let's not focus on the end result, but let's focus on the process that will allow me, that I now start to understand that when I am internally conditioned, the external result will just follow.
That makes so much sense. Thanks so much for sharing that, Coach.